Morning, you guys. Morning. Good morning. We have a pistachio cold brew that I've been working on this morning. I got on the way home from the gym. It has been a hot minute since I've had one of these. You guys know I've been doing the little bit of a health journey, watching my sugar and all of that. And if you watch my videos from a year or two ago, especially really bad in 2020, I had one of these drinks every single video, and I have not had this in months, like a professional coffee like this. And it is so good. It is freaking delicious. We're here for some tea, though. Boy, are we here for the tea today. I finally finished a book that I have had on my TBR for a while because, the raving reviews that I heard about this book. The absolute just reviews that I was receiving from this book. Now, I was already hesitant because I had pulled it up on my Goodreads and put it on my want to read column. And I noticed it wasn't rated quite as highly on Goodreads as I thought it should have been for the fact that I was seeing so many positive reviews. And I have a previous history with this author of not loving a book that I thought I was going to love by her. But I digress. I had the highest expectations going into reading this book. And I'm talking about Babel by R.F. Kuang. It's historical fiction. It's dark academia. It takes on, a lot of really tough topics. All of the things that I love in a book. And yet it fell so short for me. And we're going to dive into why I think it did. But essentially, what this book is about is it's I believe it's late 1800s. It's Victorian England, I'm pretty sure. And a young man is taken from China or a China province by an Englishman and brought to London. And he's given a new name, Robin Swift. And he is basically taught by this man to be like a protege, kind of. He is taught to translate because there's a magic system that has to do with words written on metal bars, kind of, in this world. And this is where I begin to have issues. R.F. Kuang is notorious for, I'm trying to word this perfectly because I don't want it to come across as I didn't understand the point of this novel, because I did. I have zero issue with the ideologies that were presented and every issue with the presentation, because it just something missed for me. Victorian England is a real time, but this magic system just seemed not thoroughly thought out and was just kind of chucked into this Victorian England setting where it is this really weird combination of this actually happened and could actually be happening, and this is fantasy. And it was really hard for me to wrap my head around. Also, I don't love R.F. Kuang's characters. And I ran into this with Poppy War as well. The ideas that she is presenting, we all know, anybody who has ever read R.F. Kuang's work knows that she is a scholar. Like, she has degrees from Oxford and Cambridge, and I think Yale now too. She's incredibly intelligent, and she has some wonderful things to say about culture and racism and bias in the academic world. She has a lot of things to say, and I agree with most of what she has to say. But the issue I have is I can't read it because it reads like a textbook to me when I try to read her work. The characters, I can't tell you one redeeming characteristic about a solitary person in Babel because they were just ideas. They weren't people. Like, every single thing about Robin Swift was like a very atypical Chinese immigrant of, living in England. I read a review on Goodreads that put it so succinctly. They're not people. The characters themselves are ideologies or examples, and not. Sorry, there was like a fluff in the air. The characters themselves are not well done and well thought out, and the world building left a little bit to taste as well, because like I said, there was no world building. It was just Victorian England as it is, and then she threw a magic system in there that didn't really flow with the whole time period. It was a weird read for me, and it took me a really long time to read it, like over 3 days, which is unheard of for me, because I just found myself not wanting to read it. I would read 100 or so pages, and I did not care about these characters. Just didn't. The ending really frustrated me. With Robin's self-sacrifice, spoiler alert, it what was it all for? Just, I don't know. I was left, having read an 800-page book, with more questions than answers on what did I just read? What I looked at my husband, and normally I give him like a book review, after I finish a book. I'm like, oh, this happened and this happened, and I really like this character, and I really didn't like this character, and this is why, and this is why. And I wasn't even really able to give him a good review of the book, just because I found myself muddling my way through it. It very much read like a newspaper article or a textbook of a historical story that had happened. As a fantasy reader, I know R.F. Kuang, I don't think R.F. Kuang technically calls herself fantasy. Though Poppy War and Babel, I would say, really toe that fantasy line. It's like historical fiction trying to be fantasy, but it's just, I don't know if it's just not enough of one genre or another for me to be readable. I don't know. Guys, I really, really struggled with this one. And I didn't want to. I wanted to be a Babel girly. Because, like I said, I have so many people that I watch on TikTok, on YouTube here. I don't know anybody in real life, unfortunately, that's read the book. I would love to have a real discussion about this book. Because you know me, I am not one to say, this is a bad book, and stand on that mountain. No. I want to know what you thought of this book. Tell me what you took from it. What redeeming qualities you found in Robin. So that maybe you can change my mind even. Maybe I can be like, you know what, crap. Maybe I wasn't in the right mental space when I read the book. Maybe I didn't read it the proper way. Maybe I didn't see that point when I was reading it. Let me reread it. I am the queen of being open to other people's opinions on a book and possibly discussing it and maybe even changing my mind. But I just don't know anybody in real life who loved this book. I know people online who've loved this book, but I don't know anybody in my real life who loved this book. So if you read Babel and you are Team Babel or even Team R.F. Kuang, if there's another body of her work that you think I need to read to be a R.F. Kuang fan, please let me know. Yellowface was on my TBR, but after reading Poppy War, I read the first book and DNF'd the rest of the books. It wasn't for me. So you guys know, if you go and you look at my Poppy War review by R.F. Kuang, I read the first book in the series. I did not finish the other two. It just wasn't for me. It read a little too military for me. And I don't care for military dramas, or like if it's just like chapter after chapter after chapter of war talk or battle talk or strategy, I'm going to skip those chapters. I'm not even lying. It's just not what I like to read. So Poppy War wasn't quite for me, but I still appreciated, I feel like the character building was a little bit better in Poppy War. And Babel, I really was into what the story was that was going on. But the characters were not there for me. They just weren't. I didn't know anything about these characters, I felt like. There were points where I had to keep rereading to figure out who somebody was. And like I said, Yellowface is on my TBR. I've already heard some criticism of Yellowface, though, that the main character is extremely dislikable. So I just don't. I think R.F. Kuang is a do not read for me. I respect what she's doing. I respect her ideals, but I don't enjoy her writing. And I can do that. I can say I don't think she's a bad writer. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, anybody who likes R.F. Kuang is wrong and she's a terrible writer. No, never. I just think, for me personally, I'm tired of forcing myself to finish an R.F. Kuang novel. One of my New Year's resolutions, which we haven't really talked about yet, but one of my New Year's resolutions for this channel was to DNF more books and stop forcing myself to finish books that I'm not 100% into, that I could not care less about what happens in the end. And this was definitely one that I probably should have DNF'd, not gonna lie. But I did care, just a little bit. I wanted to see how she was gonna end it, and I had also heard that the ending was, like, incredible. The ending was not great to me. It came across as very pointless to me. But I don't know. Like I said, if you have read Babel, if you are a Babel person, please, please, please comment down below. I want to have a discussion with you on what you loved about this novel, because I think maybe I'm missing it. Or it's just not for me. It's just not good to me. I don't know. I love the ideologies, but I hate the presentation. That's the best thing I can say about Babel. Was I understood what she was saying. I appreciate what she was saying. I understand that this is a topic absolutely that needs to be discussed, but it just was not presented in an entertaining format. I could 100% see this book being read in a classroom where they are studying racism in academia and things like that. Absolutely could see this book being read in that format. But as an entertainment value, picking it up at a bookstore and cuddling up with a blanket and wanting to read something and get lost in a world, this wasn't it. This wasn't it. And if you can do that, please give me tips, because this was a struggle for me. But yeah, that is my hot take for the month of January. I think I haven't had one of these in a long time. It's been a while since I disliked a book that everyone else seems to be liking. I think we back in the Taylor Jenkins Reid days, where I disliked Daisy Jones so much. And once again, I didn't hate Daisy Jones. I will never get on here as a writer myself. I will never get on here and badmouth a book. With Daisy Jones and the Six, I thought that the format was incorrect. I thought it should have been a show, which it did become a wildly popular show. And that's what it should have been from the beginning, because that book read like a newspaper interview or like a screenplay. It didn't read like a novel to me. So yeah, I'm glad that they made Daisy Jones and the Six into a TV show. That's what it should have been to begin with. But I digress. Babel was a 3-star. I did not give it 2. 1, if I give something 1 star, I DNF'd that book. It was awful. It was terrible. It was unbearable. I could not even finish it. 2 stars. Typically I DNF, or I might finish a 2-star, but typically I'm going to DNF a 2-star. But it wasn't like the worst thing I ever read. If I DNF a 2-star, it's probably just because I'm bored and I'm just like, you know what, I don't care anymore. Or like I said, I finish it and I put the book down and I'm like, that was not good. Babel was not good. Babel was highly disappointing and too dense. Way too dense. It could have been 150 pages shorter, and the character work left me having to force myself to finish the book. So that's why I gave it a 3-star. Like the ideologies, didn't hate the story. I thought the magic system needed some work, but it was really a flaw in the development of the characters and their personalities and what they stood for and what they cared about and their lives. And I didn't care. So yeah. I love you guys so much. Thanks for coming to my hot take on Babel. If you have a favorite R.F. Kuang novel, please comment down below. I am more than willing to give this author another try. It would be my try number 3 for them. And maybe I'm just missing it. But I love you guys. Cheers and have a great rest of your week. I'll see you on what day? Saturday. Bye.